Hello, I'm Dave. That's Cash Money Harris, who cashed last week. Congratulations. How's it going?
Thank you. It's going very, very well. I have taken the I don't know, $15 that I won, and I've invested it wisely, and therefore I'm speaking to you from my second yacht.
Ooh, second yacht. So before we talk about our DraftKings lineups this week, we got to talk about the fact that Christian McCaffrey is already hurt again, which launches Mike Davis back to starter potential. But rather than just next man up like we always do, let's use the channel to look at something. Can you tell me Mike Davis was great, then he was a little cold? How are we feeling about this?
Yeah, it's the biggest story in fantasy is McCaffrey being down again. I think there's some people out there who probably dropped Mike Davis because he just didn't play at all last week, and that's going to turn out to have been unfortunate. We don't really know about the duration of McCaffrey's shoulder injury. We're told there's a chance he plays in week 11, but for week 10, he's going to be out, and I don't think I'm like breaking news to say that Mike Davis should be ranked like a starter, but it's Tampa. And so it's a bad matchup. And you just said it. Like there were those 3 games where Mike Davis was awesome, but there were 3 after those where he wasn't as good for fantasy. So let's take a look at a little bit of film and we'll talk about what he does well. The last time we saw him in a starting role was that rainy Atlanta game on a Thursday night. And he was still pulling out moves like this on a screen pass, little bowling ball, Mike Davis, 5'9", 220. But Dave, we've done him on this show every year we've had a channel. I'm not trying to tell you he's McCaffrey. I like him a lot, right? He doesn't have the McCaffrey explosive lateral agility, but he does have escapability. He does it via spin move on this one, just having the vision to go with the flow and get away. The Panthers are going to run a lot of outside zone like this play. And for 220 pounds with good vision, Davis is nifty. Like you can see him darting in and out, finding the creases that zone runs are supposed to give you. He's a good fit for what they generally want to do. I think the biggest pressure point here is matchup. It's Tampa, right? Back in week 2, before McCaffrey was hurt at the end of that game. We know this. The Bucs linebackers, they are fast. They are no joke. Against a power running look, Vita Vea isn't there anymore for Tampa, but they're obviously stout against the power running. And against zone, it's even harder. In fact, Carolina ran way more power, sort of man blocking scheme against Tampa precisely because those linebackers are so fast. And so because of those linebackers, this is a way harder matchup for Mike Davis than the Falcons were, which I think, if you see the matchup, it could be giving people some pause about potentially using him. And therefore, the matchup does give Davis a worse floor than you would like. And there was that span where it was like in a PPR, he's giving you 20 plus points 3 weeks in a row. It just seemed totally foolproof. That slowed down, but you just don't find like guaranteed double-digit workloads growing on trees. There's almost no way, unless he gets hurt, Mike Davis doesn't give you at least double-digit touches against Tampa. And we just saw those plays, Dave. Like the touches he's not just the guy. He's actually a pretty good player. And if the game flow stays better than it did against Atlanta, if they don't get down big, and Carolina's a pretty scrappy team, the possibility is there for 20 touches, and that really just isn't out there in the wild.
Okay. Listening to all that, I'm gonna cheat a little. I'm giving you some content that came to me from Twitter because I'm a full service producer. Someone tweeted me asking a trade question. They have McCaffrey and Mike Davis. Would you trade it straight for Aaron Jones? It's not exactly
McCaffrey and Mike Davis for Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Do we have a Twitter username?
I don't have it. Maybe I'll show the tweet later. I don't remember it.
All right. Okay. Just give a shout out because it's a good question. So I think I probably would rather have Aaron Jones. I think given that we're running out of regular season, I don't know when's the point where I go, now I can turn the knob and feel like totally convinced that it's all McCaffrey and Davis is totally out of the picture. If McCaffrey hadn't gotten hurt at the end of that Chiefs game, I might be singing a different tune. I might have wound up putting McCaffrey higher on my rest of the season ranks than Aaron Jones. As of right now, that's not the case. So I think I would take Aaron Jones.
Good. That was my answer too. Also, if anyone gets that opportunity or you have it, trade McCaffrey and Mike Davis to whoever you play week 13 when they're on bye. Just take the money and run.
Well, yeah, that's, I guess if most leagues week 13 is the is the last week before the regular season ends too, right? So
Yeah.
That could be quite wise if you're in the playoff push.
Okay. Let's talk about week 10, not week 13, and talk about our DraftKings lineup.
Okay.
So we're going to work our way through quarterback on through because that's how I like to do the graphics. So where'd you go quarterback,
Indeed.
Chris?
Well, I mean, before I reveal that to you, can we just revel in the fact that I'm better than you at DraftKings?
You are. Week 9. You are better than me in this small sample size by 2
Did you put
points.
It up? Did you put the graphics up? Did you just put the graphics
I will now
showing?
because you brought this up.
I see. I'm not the producer, but I somehow in my mind produced it anyway. I produced an effect, a desired effect. Having Dalvin Cook in a lineup turns out to be smart. I'm a genius. And actually, the Wilson Metcalf stack turned out okay too. And McKissic, I got 4 guys. It wasn't the highest scoring of weeks. I only got like 4 real great, but they were good. All right, so I'll go. There are a few ways I could have gone at quarterback for week 10. I went with Aaron Rodgers. Because I'm going to wind up stacking him again with his bubby, and feel mighty good about getting 50 points out of that. You got to hit at quarterback, and it felt to me like I couldn't find too many mid-range quarterbacks where I felt sure that they were going to give me 25 to 30 points as a floor, whereas the Murrays, the Rodgerses, that's Wilsons. That's where I'm looking. I think I'm going to pay up at quarterback this week.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I don't like paying up a quarterback because you've talked about this before of so many quarterbacks are kind of going to hit 30 this season because no one's playing defense that I like to try and pay down a little to get there.
Yep.
But man, I was tempted at Rodgers, Murray. I went Jared Goff, 6,500, so I saved a little bit of money.
100%.
I like them.
He's on my list of also rans. 100%. He's I think he the 2 LA quarterbacks, right? Him and Justin Herbert. And you're paying less for Goff than you are for Herbert. If I weren't going to pay top money, those were the 2 I was considering. Also, I built lineups around Herbert, and I mean, you tell me. I'm interested in your perspective on this particular contest, this 1,100 person contest. We want people to come play. Dave will flash the link up where you can play with us, and it's $5 to enter, and they don't take a rake, and we'll, it is actually quite a bit of fun for as much smack as we talk. Because you really need the dude in this, it's not a cash game. You really need the quarterback to hit. I just have this feeling, okay, it's a great matchup for Goff against Seattle. Great. It's great. I just saw what Josh Allen did. But lingering in my mind is that he's Jared Goff, and I wonder, I felt like because everybody's going to get 30 points, if I happen upon the Goff weekend where he just doesn't, I feel like I put myself behind the 8 ball.
I think that's true, but I also think if I only get 30 points and I paid 8,000 for Murray, I put myself behind the 8 ball a little bit.
You need 45 or something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I got by, I didn't chicken out last week and play Jake Luton for real cheap, and that worked. So maybe I'm like, oh, this is okay. I can get by like this.
I know how to do this. I cashed with Jake Luton. Yeah, I hear you. So did I cover your, I would say Kyler Murray. My very first pick was to pick Kyler Murray. That's who Mitch picked on the podcast. He'd be on that list too.
Yep. You covered my guys. I tried to be clever so many other ways and couldn't come up with anyone else down low, or I'm just not clever enough. Where'd you go running back?
All right, so I'm same game. I'm looking for the Jags to score some points against the Pack. I think the Pack is gonna score. I'll do James Robinson. I think an underwritten story of the year is the Green Bay run defense. It's been awful for the past 5 weeks, except the 49er game where they were playing against some scrimmage, some they were playing against some junior college team and not the real 49ers. Given that Jacksonville wants to run and has regularly, I think they will with James Robinson. I feel pretty good about that pick. And then, man, there are some values on the running back board. I'm wondering how many of them you selected. I'll just do my second running back for now, but my flex is also going to be a running back. I have J.D. McKissic again. Who knew the Alex Smith era was coming back, but that just plays directly into, the American Ninja Warrior, right into the pass catching back's hands.
Yeah. So I followed your lead with McKissic. When building my lineups, I actually started with cheap running backs and just thought earlier in the week, oh, Ninja Warrior's back. Here we go. I just take the PPR McKissic. So he's 4,900. And then I did Mike Davis, where you talked about 4,000. He's got to be the highest owned. I don't know if DraftKings has a history Hall of Fame of the most owned players of any week ever, but I feel like Mike Davis is going to be up there.
If you remind me over the weekend, I could ask them. Like I they wouldn't know. My contacts at DraftKings probably wouldn't know, but they would know who to ask whether that thing exists or not. You should send me text me over the weekend, and
I will.
I'll ask them. And spoiler alert, that Davis is going to be my flex too. It does feel like at 4,000 with no McCaffrey, you're going to need to make a decision on whether you want to be with the herd, the 75% of the people who nail Mike Davis, or if you want to just be anti. And I understand being anti. We just spent 5 minutes on it before. Like, the Buccaneer run defense is no joke.
Yeah. Along those lines, I don't know if you ended up taking him, but Duke Johnson's also in that cheap running back that is going to be highly owned, right? 5,000.
Right. So he's on my list of others. I thought about Aaron Jones for sure at 7,100. I actually thought about Josh Jacobs. Chase workload. If I couldn't find Chase workload in the DraftKings app, I think it's broken. But there's no question about what Josh Jacobs is going to do in terms of touching the ball, and he's really good. And what's crazy is he really hasn't broken anything. Like, I think there are big plays coming from Josh Jacobs. He's so good, and I like him a lot this week. And Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders fits the same category for me this week at 6,400, where that is a good price in his return, in what I presume to be his return. Sort of same category for me as a Goff. Like, I'm not intimidated by the matchup. I think there's potential value there, but man, I don't want to whiff. I think I have a little bit of PTSD from the first couple months of the season of not cashing, of just finding what I think is good value, recognizing that I'm assuming risk, and then constantly having that Diontae Johnson happen to me. Constantly having the whoops, he's hurt again. Whoops, they decided not to give him a full workload. But I bet Sanders is going to be owned a lot.
Yeah. I'm looking at my lineup as you say that. I'm thinking I have the opposite PTSD. I'm riding too high. I'm going, I'm playing all the nervous guys.
Right. They are the nervous guy. He's one of them. He's one of the nervous guys. So at receiver, I did pick Davante Adams. There's a lot of nice receivers that if you feel like spending some money, you go ahead and spend some money. I didn't have tons of money left because I'm going to wind up paying for a pretty decent tight end. Chase Claypool, 5,800. That's a high variance guy. That's a nervous guy. Not so much because you think he himself is going to be hurt or whatever, but we just don't know about the usage. It varies a lot from week to week, but we also haven't gotten a deep ball completed to Chase Claypool in a while, and they took a few. If you watched that Cowboy game last week, they took a few. And then Brandin Cooks, just perennially, why is he being considered $1,000 worse than Will Fuller? They're the same fantasy option right now.
I almost went with Cooks because you talked about him on the show this week. I couldn't quite afford him the way I built it, but I was expecting you to be all over Cooks when I saw that pricing. So I went Adams as well, basically because I didn't play Aaron Jones. I wanted Davante Adams or Aaron Jones in my lineup. So then I stacked Robert Woods, and I played DK Metcalf, which I think is going to be like, even though he's a big name, I think I maybe I'm swerving a little bit away from the crowd. When I played all the discount running backs, I felt very chalky, and I wanted to get maybe a little variance.
Why do you think Metcalf will? Is it because of the Rams defense / Jalen Ramsey / whatever?
I'm biased in that when I looked at the stacks, I was like, oh man, it's going to be Adams and Rodgers or Hopkins and Murray. And just at those prices, I thought that those matchups are going to be very big ownership. So going with a really good, reliable guy just might not be in play as much as some of the others.
So tons of other receivers I could use. I built a Herbert Keenan Allen stack. Keenan Allen's going to be owned a ton. He's been rock solid. Maybe not the highest ceiling, not a 50-point ceiling, but just the 20-point floor is pretty great. Michael Thomas at 7,400. If he's Michael Thomas, if he's ready to be Michael Thomas, that's hilarious. He was in my lineup all the way through. And eventually I went, oh, you know what? I can upgrade from Michael Thomas to Davante Adams. I think I'll do that. But I think Thomas should get a lot of love. I had Woods on my list. I had Cooper Kupp on my list. Marvin Jones still only at 5,200. I had him in all the way through, and I got to the point where I got away from him, but didn't feel great about it. And dude, DJ Moore at 5,100.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we talked about him last week. And one of these weeks he's going to hit that price.
Well, it's been two bad weeks in a row, and before that, it wasn't bad at all. He was great. He had 93 yards receiving in 3 straight weeks. Like, he's going to go off. He's a great pick this week.
So you said you spent a little at tight end. Who'd you play?
I did, because I don't even have other names for you to put up on the screen. I think I started my lineup with Dallas Goedert. It's not like I paid all the way up, but I didn't take the $2,000 guy, right? Holy moly, I want Dallas Goedert this week. So
I also played Dallas Goedert, 4,200. This is the most I've paid for tight end. I I looked at going lower to Logan Thomas because of the Ninja Warrior. I just thought PPR, if I can get some check down passes at 3,300. But there's so many cheap running backs that I didn't feel the need to save money here. At 4,200, he's cheaper than Waller and some of the other options.
Jags.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm not going to go. The Cowboys got me 2 points last week. Come on. Jags.
I'm going Jags, but we skipped my flex. I didn't talk about him yet.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I played Diontae Johnson, which made me laugh because you're saying how we got burned from him, and you played Claypool. But I went the other side of a little more variance of we like the players, so let's see if it happens. But otherwise,
sure. I mean, both players are great. Both players are better than Juju, and Juju's probably the best season-long start between the three of them for this week. But yeah, there's three of them. That's the problem. And by the way, Jags.
Where's the defense base? Jags. So thank you for watching.
That'll do it.
Please join. Yeah. Click the link below. Join for our week 10 and try and keep Chris out of the money again. That was fun for me while it lasted.
Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.